2. Hey everyone, thanks, I'm back. It's been a minute since I did a video. This is a continuation of the series I've done on Supabase, which is right here, which is considered an open source firebase alternative. I have an existing playlist of 4 different videos right now that go over using Supabase with Ionic and Vue. We covered just a basic example. We've added login and create account. We've also added forgot password and a bunch of other interesting stuff in the series. Please check it out. Like I said, they're quite long. When I look at them all, I didn't realize how much content I had, but please check it out. But what's missing from what I've done in the past is file storage or blob storage, which recently was announced by Supabase. So I think in the last week or 2, they released a beta version. So now you can actually store files. They have concept of files, folders, and buckets. Documentation is great as usual. They actually even have a whole video series kind of walking you through each one of these examples. So I'm not really going to go deep into kind of setting it up and configuring everything since it's all listed right here. I'm just going to show you kind of a real world use of Firebase. Sorry, I messed it up. Of Supabase in my application and saving images to associate with it. Just as a refresher for those who haven't seen the video series yet, but basically what I have created here is a simple CRUD application. Let me log out again. So you can see I have login, I have created, so you can create an account. I have login. I even have integrated forgot password. But what we're just going to do here is we're just going to walk through with an account I have created already. You can see I have a t-shirt. I can support delete, so I can delete the object, and I can add a new object. Let's put this in here, t-shirt AGN, not white. You can have various prices, 19, let's put $5.99. Category shirts, okay. Save, gets written to the database and rendered. And then if I go back to actual this is my database. It has my information in it. I can actually look at my table, and let me expand this a bit so you can see it. I can see my entry that I've added to the database. So that's what we have so far. And what we're going to do in this video is we are going to take our existing application that we have here, and when you add a product, we're going to allow you to add an image, and that image will show you how to save it into the Supabase storage, and then we'll also show you how to get it back and render it. So on the list here, we'll have a picture of the image to go along with it. So before we get into code, I just want to remind everyone, please make sure you like and subscribe. Also, I'll include the link to this video series for those who haven't checked it out yet, for you to kind of listen in. But let's hop into the code right now. Thanks. Okay, so storage. So if you go to Supabase doc, there's a whole page on storage. You can save files, you have folders, and you have buckets. These are different ways to categorize your content that you want to display. I have already gone through the process and set up a bucket for this example. So this is my Supabase product. Here's my bucket. And in my bucket, I just have a folder called products. That's where I'm going to save everything. And then I've also, let's expand this so it's easier to see. I've also set up some policies for access to my bucket. Saying that to get access to this bucket, you need to be authenticated. To objects in a bucket. And then I also have this kind of whole bucket level access. I don't think I need them both. I was just kind of playing around with it. Also, just to let you know, there's no magic here. If you go to the Supabase documentation, and if you scroll down here to policy examples, they kind of lay out the basic policy that you'll need to put in place to allow public access to a bucket, login access, and individual file access. You can pretty much just copy this content, which is how I set up my policies to kind of get you started. Also, all of the code samples that I'm using, as you can see, they have them all kind of available to you in the documentation. You can view them in JavaScript. And as you'll watch me as I do this, I'm pretty much going to cut and paste the code from here and modify it to get it going, because this is a good way for you to get comfortable and get started with everything. Once again, don't want to spend a bunch of time going through documentation that you guys can view yourself. And so you're here to see how to actually put this all together. So let's hop to it. So if we go back to our application that we covered last time, what we want to try to accomplish is we want to put an image here right here, next to any product that I upload. And so the first thing you need to do here is you need to be able to select a file. You guys know how to use a camera. I have videos on how to integrate the camera into Vue if you want to use that to upload your file. But to keep this simple, we're just going to use a file input dialog to select the file, save it, and upload it. So the first thing we want to do is right below category here, we want to add a file input selector. So let's go to our add product view. This is view, so it's up at the top. We're just going to take an item. We'll bring it down here. Let's call this image, image. Let's move it up out of the way. Position is stacked. And then let's change this input type to file. Let's get this out of here. For those who've never done this before, really all you need to do is listen to the onChange event. And then based on the onChange event, we're going to save the file that was selected. And so to get access to the onChange event, why do I keep saying onChange event? You can just say for the change event. I'm getting my JavaScript frameworks mixed up. We're just going to do this. We're going to create a file to a function to handle this called handle file change. I try to not do too much business logic in my templates, even if it's pretty straightforward, which is what this is. So let's add this function down here. Let's go right up top here and create a new function, const handle file change. We're going to get an event, and then from the event, we want to assign a value. We're going to pull the file from the event like this. So we can do this, and we need we need our selected file reference. So let's go up here, create a new ref, const selected file equals ref, set the ref to null. Now we have a reactive value that's going to hold that. We have ref included. So now whenever I choose a file, it will get assigned to selected file. The next thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that the file that we selected gets passed to save product. Right now, save product is just getting the values from the form. What I'm doing here is parts of this code came from something that I did that worked with Stripe, and with Stripe, this is kind of how you need to set your prices. So it just came along with it. I'm taking the price that you enter here, I'm multiplying it by 100, and then converting it to a number. So what we want to do is on the end of save products here, getting back to the process here, we want to add the file. And so we already have the file. It's called selected file. So we're just going to come down underneath here. We're going to add a new key called file. And then we're going to say selected file dot value. We don't want the reactive part. We just want the actual value. And we're going to pass that over to save products. So now when we get into save products, we'll have all the values that we need and the file object being passed along with us. And remember, we're only taking the first entry, so we're not handling multiple files. So now let's head over to our data service and work on save products to database. So here we are in save products to database. This needs to be moved to 2 steps. Step 1, save image. And then step 2, save to database. Database with image ref. Right? So there's a pretty cool thing you can do with JavaScript destructuring. And basically what we want to do is we want to separate out of form data just the file key, and then all the rest of the stuff we want to pass on to the Supabase client to save to the database. And the pretty cool way that you do that is, like I said, using destructuring. So we can go right here, and we'll start right here under save image. And what this says is in form data, pull out the key file and make everything else go to product data. So now everything that we want to save, we can now put in product data there. And now we have file by itself, and file is what we want to save to Supabase. And if we look at the Supabase documentation, and as I said, they tell you pretty straightforward, here's how you upload a file. We've already done this part, so this is the only part that matters to us now, is actually saving it to our bucket. We're just going to copy this code, put it in here. Let's just format this a bit. And so we get access to our client using this structure that we created. Please see the earlier video to kind of explain all that. Our bucket is called, well, here's my database. My bucket is called product bucket. And we're saving our images, let's open our bucket, to a folder called products. So we're going to, well, we know this is our file. Excuse me. Excuse me. We know this is the file, so let's put our file right there because that's the key we got. But we need our file name also. So let's do some interpolation here. We're going to say products is the folder, PRDUCTS, and then we'll just get the file name. So we can say file.name, and that will get us the file name from the file object that got passed in. And that should be it. That's all that's really required to upload the file. Now, what we want to do is we want to get all these errors. So each one of these functions return the data and an error. And since we have two of them here, this is kind of my little hack to keep track of them. So for the data from the storage, I'm just going to say S data. S is for storage. S data. And then for my error, we'll say SRR. And then for product, oh, this is the DB data. So we'll say DB data, and then down here, we'll say DB error. Okay. Let me get that right. Okay. So for each one of these guys, if there's an error, we want to throw the error, and then it'll get caught down here, and it'll get handled appropriately. So let's kind of move this one up here. So if we have an error from loading to storage, throw it. And down here, if we have an error, throw it. Okay. And then if it's success, we want to pass the data back. So we're going to say copy here. We'll say data.db data. So if everything works right, we're going to return success and we will pass the data back. If everything doesn't work right, we'll throw an error. We're going to catch the error here. We'll return false. And then we get the error that was either thrown from here or was thrown from up top here. And then the last thing with the S data, we don't really need the data that's coming back. All we need is the error, because the key that you need to access the bucket that you saved really is just the path, and we have the path right here. So actually, why don't we do this? Let's say const file path and do it like this, since we know we're going to use it in multiple places. Let's copy this, put that there, and then we're going to use the file path here. And then we're also going to use the file path down here to add the data, because we need to save the file path to the database so that we can reference it later when we want to render it. So this will save it, and then let's add it to our key down here. And before we save our, I think we can just hop right in here and go like this, comma, and then say image. And the image we add file path. And let's do this better. Let's say image path. That makes sense? Change all occurrences to, there you go. Okay. So step one, destructure, get the file, get the path where we're going to save it. That's the name of our bucket. We copied this save code directly from the documentation. This is how we're going to upload to our bucket. It needs a path upload to the bucket, and it needs the file object. If there's an error, we throw the error and we catch it below. If everything's fine, then the next step is to actually save the data to the database, which we were doing before. The only difference is now we're adding the image path to it. And if there's an error from DB error, then throw that DB error and return it. Otherwise, return the database, the DB data, or throw the error. So let's save this. And before we show how to render our icon, let's just go back to our home view. And down here, before the delete, let's just so we can get something on the screen, we're just going to render the path. So that should be P, I think I call it image path. So if it saves, and let's do this because I know we might not always have an image path. So where's my app? Okay, let's go back here. All right, there's no image path. So let's give it a try. See if I got it right on the first go. New t-shirt new t-shirt with image, price $5.99, sale $4.99. It is a t-shirt. Let's choose the file that will be associated with it. Let's promote my own stuff with that image. Let's click save. And we have our new t-shirt saved to our database. But let's modify our home view to see if we can actually see it. So what did we save it as? Let's try this. I thought we called it image path, so I guess we didn't. Let's see what we called it in a data service. And that was the name. We saved it as image. So home, image. And so there's the path to our file. So, but we don't want to see this. We want to actually see the image. So what we're going to do is, I already have this thing set up using the Ionic grid. And so we have a grid and we have a row, and right now our row has one column. We're going to add another column to it. So ion call. And so that's that. And then what we want to do with our column is, in the first column, we are going to place our the image / thumbnail, and then the rest will be the text. So we're going to set this column size to 4. We'll set that guy to 4, and then inside of here, we're going to create a new component called ImageView. And this component is going to just get passed the image. And then what we're going to send it is going to be p.image. And so kind of what we're displaying here, we're going to pass it into our new component. Let's close our component out. And see, so we already have our space set up for where our image is going to be. It's going to be squeezed in right here. Let's go into components and let's create a, let's just copy this, copy V, rename, image. What did I call it? I called it ImageView. So rename image EW. And so that's our new component. Now let's go in here. We don't need any of this stuff inside of our template. Get rid of all that. And let's get rid of, let's call this image view. We're not going to deal with any styles here, so let's kind of get rid of those guys. So now we have our image view. The only prop that we're getting passed in is image, and that's going to be passed, so it's a string. And then up here is where we actually want to draw our image. And it's pretty straightforward. What we gonna let's use an ion. I think it's ion image. Yes, it is ion image. And let's go here. Yeah, Ionic. That's what I wanted. Image view. So since we're going to use that, we need to import it. So import imp. And then this guy is from Ionic. IONI. There you go. And then inside of here, am I doing that right? Right. Let's close this guy off so everyone stop complaining. And then inside of here, we need our, so inside of here, components, componen components. And then we know that we're using Ionic component. So ion image, close that out so everybody's happy. And then all right, so we have that set up, that's set up, that's set up. So clearly we need to, let's get our setup set up. So this is where we're going to do all our magic stuff. And what we need is an image URL that we're going to use inside of image right here. So let's set this up to, I believe, source. And then we're going to pass in our image URL. So we need to get an image URL to pass in. Let's create our const image URL equals ref. Start out as null. And we need our view to hold our image ref, so let's get that in here. We also need to get our Supabase client, so let's bring that in here. And now, so image ref, let's set up. We need to return this because we need our image ref, so let's return image URL. Okay, so let's save this. Let's go back to Supabase documentation. So Supabase says to download a file, this is how you download a file. You use the path, which we're getting passed in, and then you give it the bucket, path and bucket. I think it's download image, and then async path, and then inside of here we know this is the code that we need to use. As usual, we already have our client, so we're going to copy our client and replace theirs with that. Let's clean that up a bit. We know our bucket is called, what was our bucket called? View database. Our bucket is called product bucket, I believe. Product bucket. So from product bucket, B-U-C-K-E-T. And then our path is what's getting passed in, so we can replace all this with path. And we should go. We're gonna take this out because that's optional. And we're gonna format this. And so now we have our download image. And like I said, we want to call this when we start it up. So down here, we're gonna say download image. And then we're gonna call it with props dot image. And where's props coming from? Props getting passed in with our context. Okay, and then we have our two friends data and error, and what we want to do with these guys is we're going to say if error throw error. And then if we don't have an error, we're going to take the file that we got downloaded and we're going to convert it to an object URL to be utilized. So we're going to go like this. If there's an error, throw error. Otherwise, create an object URL from the data that we got back. And then let's just shortcut this and just set our image URL and go like this, dot value to the object URL got created. And then I think we're good. Let's see what we got in our application. So let's open this guy up again, refresh. Okay, why am I not seeing anything? Let's look at my code, props image, path, props image. See if we getting any, oh, I didn't actually import my component to my home view. So let's go back to my home view. This is my image view, but I need to actually import this guy, I believe. Okay, import image view from the component. Components slash image view dot view. So now we have our image view, but it's not being used. Let's add it for our components. And there's our little image. Let's go back and look at our code. Let's go back to our image view. And I think we want to fix the size on this as big as it can actually be. Try to make it a little bit better. So let's set our width to a certain value. Say width is 250. Okay. Let's see what we get. All right. Let's delete this guy since he doesn't look nice with an image. Okay, now let's try and test it with a new guy. So new test. Price 10.55. That one. It's $10 straight. Shorts. Choose file. Use a subscribe button to remind everybody to subscribe. Let's save, and there's my image. Oh, actually, there's one other thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to show how you can implement subscriptions to get the the changes to the database. Because right now, what you will see is if I go back to my home view, what I'm doing is after I delete a product, I'm calling load products again. And I shouldn't have to do that. I want the database to just automatically get the data. And then also what you see I'm doing here in my home view, every time you enter the view, I am loading the products. And there's a way that we can change this in our service. So what we can do in our service, we can just listen for changes to the database by subscribing to them. And so that's what we're going to do in this last section. So the basic strategy here is when you go through this auth, if you look at what's getting dumped here in the log, developer tools, you'll see it's getting this signed in status dumped, and that's this. So the event I'm getting, the status change event I'm getting is signed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen for this, and when my event is signed in, I'm going to load the products. So that will happen the very first time. And then the next step that I'm going to do after that is I'm going to set it up that I will basically subscribe to changes to the database after I load the products. And I'm only calling load products once. So first, let's listen to this event. Let's listen for this event. So we're going to say if event 2, 3 signed ed in, then call load products. AIT, right? So let's change this to async. All right, so now we're going to load products. But the thing we want to change with our load products is right now it's just loading them. What we want to do is at the end of all this, we want to subscribe to changes. And the way that you subscribe is like this. So inside of here, we're going to do this. We're going to create a new function called const load. And this is actually how you load products. Okay, let's make this async. All right, and what we want to do is inside of my load products function, we want to now this is where we want to subscribe. And then after we subscribe, then we want to do our first load. AIT. Right? And so and then what we want to do is then at the end here, no, this is it. So the way this is going to work is this is a private function. And then here is where we subscribe. Sub. Okay, so let's walk through what I've done here. So when this thing initializes, if you're logged in, I'm going to call load products. And then what load products is going to do, first thing it's going to do is it's going to subscribe to any changes on my products table. If my products table changes at all, then I'm going to call load. And then what load does is load sets the local instances of if there's an error or if I have any products. So we will update that list automatically. That's what the subscribe will do. And then the last thing I do is my initial load. So this is my initial load of the data, and then any time there's changes, it'll just reload the data over again. So that's what I'm doing here in this code. So now that means I can go back here to my home view, and I am able to, first of all, remove this code. I don't need this code at all anymore. And then I should not be, I can remove, where's my, there should be no need, there's no need for load products here because when I delete the object, load products will know the object was deleted and it will reset, it will reload my data. Okay, let's save everything and let's close this. And if I reload, See, I'm reloading and it's getting my data. And then now, remember, I removed the load after my delete. So let's try deleting this first one. And it reloaded my data and only gave me back the data that was there. Plus, if I look in the logs or tools, see, I'm getting my changed events. So change received, object was deleted, old and new. And then now if I add an object, I should also get an add event. So let's try this. Checking for event. What did I just realize? I didn't clean up my delete to delete the image, so I get to circle back to that also. But let me just show this update. Hope we save. Just let this play it through. So you can see it added my new object and everything loaded. But let me show you the last thing that I missed. As you can see, I don't write scripts for my videos. So you can see I've been deleting. So I deleted this guy, but I didn't delete the item from the bucket. So let's do one last thing before we end, because this video is getting kind of long. And let's update our delete. So currently, let's see. Currently, when I delete, I'm only passing the product ID. And well, I need more. I'm going to need the actual product because I'm going to need to get the path off the product also. So let's go to delete. Let's change delete and let's pass in the whole product. We'll start there. And then let's come down to my product and let's say this is product. And then we're going to pass the whole product into remove product. All right. Now let's go into remove product. And then where is remove product? Log out, forgot password, change, load, remove product. So this is now actually a product. And then we want to delete from the database the product ID. So that's deleting the database. But we also need to actually delete from storage. And so to delete from storage, we want to make sure, well, first we'll delete the product. We'll say const, and then from here we want to get an error. So we'll say, we'll call this CRUD error. And then let's go back to our documentation. And so you can see here's a doc for download, remove. Okay. So there's the remove. Just going to copy that. And then down here, let's put async on here. Get our client. So await. Oh, get that out of there. Put down here. Okay. So from prod, and we want to put our path of what we want to remove. And so we called it, we put it in the database as image. So we should just be able to say right here, product.image is the path of what we want to delete. And we remember, we only want to do this if we actually have one, right? So let's check that first. So if product.image, let's put it in there. We should be confirming that there's an image. We're not doing data validation, but let's just leave the if in there. Okay, and then now we got to do something with these errors, just like we did last time. So I think we're going to take the same approach. So this will be storage, store a error, and then what we'll do is let's just wrap this whole thing to try, catch. Let's console log so we can see it. And then let's throw it. And then underneath here, we're just going to check for errors. I'm going to say if let's put it inside of here. storage error. Then up here, if we get an error here, then we'll throw a product error. Is that how I did it before? Yeah. Actually, I think I'm getting an error back, so I don't need to wrap it in an error like this. I think I just need to throw it. There you go. And then now I'm deleting the object from the database, and then I'm deleting the storage. And just to kind of confirm that everything's working the way we want it to work, let's go into our buckets, and I was hoping there's a way to delete it. So you saw I deleted the subscribe image. Let's go in here and just delete everything. Delete rows. So we should have no data. Name test 999999. It's an image that will stand out. There you go. Open. Save. Image is playing. Let's refresh to make sure image is really there. Open up our database and refresh our products. There's our image. Notice our image name is Vue Capacitor 22 PNG. All right, so now let's go back. Let's delete our image. Refresh, go back. And it's gone. No more Capacitor 22. Image has been deleted. And if we look here in our tables, we have no records. So we've completed our CRUD. We've added the image management to it. We are removing our database and then our client storage. Let's finish up here. So we handled everything in remove. In our saving our products, we've saved the image. The other touch we added was we modified the way we are loading our data. We load our load products function now is a little bit more elaborate. We have this private function here called load, which actually does load the data, but then loading products really sets up the subscription, which listens for changes. And on changes, it calls load, but we kind of prime the pump by calling load the very first time. We added an ImageView component, which is what we use to render the images. And in there, we download the image from Supabase storage. We get the path, we convert it to an object URL, and we display the object URL. I think that's where we're going to end it. This video ended up being a little bit longer than I expected. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. I will upload source code. Please make sure you like and subscribe and give me feedback on this video. Thanks. Bye now.